Hi, and welcome to another issue of ACLU on the Hill. We're not actually at the Hill this day. We're actually at the ACLU of Utah offices speaking with the Smart Justice Coordinator Jason Groth about an exciting piece of legislation that was recently introduced at the Utah Capitol. Jason, welcome to the program. Can you tell us about this legislation? It's HB 288, which is Prosecutor Data Collection Amendments.
Yeah, so the name may be a little bit tricky to understand what the bill's about, but it's trying to get data from prosecutor offices to understand what's really going on behind the closed doors, where historically we don't really see a lot of data being pushed out from prosecutor offices. And so what this bill does statewide, it requests data from all prosecutor offices to be sent to the CCJJ. So
what is the CCJJ?
Yeah, without using alphabet soup. So it's the Committee on Criminal and Juvenile Justice. And so it's a central state agency that looks at different criminal justice systems or areas, and does a lot of studies and reports on how they are working or not working, and looks to ways to improve those systems.
So when you say prosecutor offices, would that be like the district attorney here in Salt Lake County and the same thing in Utah County, or would it include city prosecutor offices?
It include all prosecutor offices, and so any municipality, so that could be your city prosecutor office, and then your county prosecutor offices are usually known as county attorney offices, mostly, but here in Salt Lake County, I think that's the only place that's called a district attorney's office.
Got it.
But it's the same thing.
Got it. So this would basically have these different prosecutor offices collect the data, send it to this central committee that would then review it. And would this data be then accessible to the public, to researchers, to folks like yourself?
Yes, the bill itself explicitly states that the CCJJ is going to make that publicly available. And that'll help the public understand what's going on when they elect a prosecutor, what that prosecutor is actually doing while they're in office.
What do you hope to do with this data? What is the goal? How does it dovetail with what the ACLU of Utah's Smart Justice Project works on?
So the last couple of years with the Smart Justice Program here in Utah, we've been really looking at prosecutors and how they operate and what some of those outcomes might be based on their decisions that they make in the courtroom when they get a case, and how individual case decisions can accumulate into things like racial disparities. And so what's great about this data is that we can actually find some solutions to some of these big picture issues we've been seeing in our criminal justice data that we have in the back end. So the prison system itself, we know, has racial disparities. That's just a fact. We know that's the case. One of the issues, though, is that we're really having trouble pinning down where those disparities are coming from. And so hopefully this data from prosecutor offices will help us better understand what some drivers might be, and then we can start creating solutions to the problems that we know exist, instead of just hoping that what we're doing in our prosecutors' offices are going to work.
So we have data from the prisons and the jails here in Utah, but this is really extending that backwards in the process to where people first encounter the criminal justice system during the prosecution stage. Is that right? And you often said that prosecutors have a very big role in determining what happens in the criminal justice system.
Yeah, that's very true. Prosecutors decide what charges get filed, they make bail recommendations, they offer plea deals, and most cases end up in a plea deal, about 95%.
Really?
Don't go to trial. You end up pleading out. And this bill will help track some of that data and some of that decision making. And so what this bill can really do is really kind of unlock that black box of information that we weren't privy to before.
This bill is being sponsored by a Republican legislator from Utah County. Can you tell us a little bit about Representative Marcia Judkins, right?
Correct. Yeah, Representative Judkins, she works at UVU, so Utah Valley University, and she's a math professor there. And so I think this bill really speaks to her understanding of how the world works, because it's really data-driven. And if you understand the math behind our criminal justice system, it can help us understand some of those problems that we see in some of the stats and the data that we get.
Gotcha. Now, do you foresee yourself sitting down with this data eventually and going through it and looking at it and trying to figure out what's going on, what the narrative is?
Definitely. I think that's one of the big things when we think about policy here in Utah, is we got to understand what's going on under the hood of our criminal justice system, what's really driving it. And so if we're looking at policy decisions to address a lot of these issues, we're going to have to look at the data to actually make informed decisions if we want to have evidence-based solutions.
Gotcha. Is there anything else about this bill or about this process that you'd like to tell us about?
I think one of the really interesting things that I hope doesn't get overlooked is that this will actually help prosecutors manage their offices better. So they can see what programs are working, what aren't working, or look at other prosecutor offices and see what's working there. And so that way we're making a good source of our use of our limited resources in a lot of these areas. And so prosecutors can use this as a tool to be more effective in the work that they do and also to evaluate their own performance as well.
Gotcha. So you might actually get data that is not only specific to each prosecutor office, but to each prosecutor making these decisions as the cases come before them.
Correct.
Okay. Well, this has been exciting. We're learning a lot about it. This bill just was released in the Utah legislature. It's HB 288, Prosecutor Data Collection Amendments from Representative Marcia Judkins from Provo, Utah. Look forward to hearing what happens with this bill, and thanks for telling us what it contains.
Of course, anytime.
All right. Thank you. Do a quick check. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. All right.
Great.
Well, welcome to another issue of ACLU on the Hill. We're not actually on the Hill right now. We're at the ACLU of Utah offices, but we're here speaking with Jason Groth, the ACLU. Let me start over. All right. Too many ACLUs.
Sure. And